Welcome to another episode of Built to Exit with me, your humble host, Jason Cisneros. And this week we're, we're gonna have a discussion. We're gonna have a talk. Um, and we're gonna, again, a lot of times people, especially in business. I mean, I know that all of y'all that are watching me are getting into business. You're running a business. You're running somebody else's business. We all have that in common. And we're told in business, that you shouldn't talk about, like, it's like the thing, you shouldn't talk about religion and you shouldn't talk about politics. Um, I believe that who we are, we're leaders. As I've spoken very, very bluntly and openly about, I believe that our group of people considered merchants throughout history. Today, it's entrepreneurs, it's business owners, it's whatnot. I think we've been instrumental in a lot of things. I don't think that this form of communication doesn't even exist if it's not for merchants. There's the roof over our head. There's the HVAC. There's refrigeration. There's roads. There's all parks. All of these different things that matter to us don't exist if it's not for a merchant. Okay, it just doesn't exist. And we are the least combined people, the least networked people, I believe, on the face of the planet, who have the most impact. Here in the United States, $17 trillion of GDP, 60 to 70% of the hiring, so much impact, yet so decentralized. Which is also part of the plan, by the way. It's part of the plan, as the decentralized finance is the greatest tool against totalitarianism, against centralized power, those type of things. The fact that there's so much wealth that's so decentralized through this thing called small and mid-sized business owners, part of the plan. But I believe, and that's why Built to Exit sort of exists, is so that we can centralize some more of that communication, have the conversations, get to know each other. You guys getting to know each other and doing business with each other as you meet each other here on these podcasts and in the notes and the conversations, and when we're together. Like, I was just in Austin with some unbelievable 150, 200 people, business owners who are buying and selling their businesses and buying other businesses and improving their skill sets and interacting with and networking with each other around the concept and the idea of of um, of decentralized business, right? Ethical capitalism is what we talk about here. And so, being involved in all of those things, we have to have hard conversations. We have to communicate with each other. And I wanted to start out. There's a book, the Gulag Archipelago. I just have a copy of it here. The Gulag Archipelago. This is volume 1, and I'm going to read, like, word for word, just a little story out of this. Alexander Solzhenitsyn is the author, and many of you who followed me for years, that I reference these books quite often. My wife was the one that brought it to my attention, but let me read this to you, and then we're going to get into conversation. Okay, there's this chat, and I'll put the page number and all this other kind of stuff, but you can read the book. Let me read from the book directly. Okay. At the conclusion of the conference, a tribute to Comrade Stalin was called for. Of course, everybody stood up, just as everyone had leapt to his feet during the conference at every mention of his name. For 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, a stormy applause, rising to an ovation, continued. But palms were getting sore and raised arms were already aching, and the older people were panting from exhaustion. It was becoming insufferably silly, even to those who really did adore Stalin. However, who would dare to be the first to stop? After all, NKVD men were standing in the hall, applauding and watching to see who would quit first. And in the obscure small hall, unknown to the leader, the applause went on. 6, 7, 8 minutes. They were done for. The goose was cooked. They couldn't stop now till they collapsed from heart attacks. At the rear of the hall, which was crowded, they could, of course, cheat a bit, clap less frequently, less vigorously, not so eagerly. But up there, with the Presidium, where everybody could see them, the director of the local paper factory, an independent, strong-minded man, stood with the Presidium, aware of all the falsity and the impossibility of the situation. He still kept on applauding. 9 minutes, 10. In anguish, he watched the secretary of the district party committee, but the latter dared not stop. Insanity to the last man. With make-believe enthusiasm on their faces, looking at each other with faint hope, the district leaders were just going on and applauding till they fell where they stood, till they would be carried out of the hall on stretchers. And even then, those who were left would not falter. Then, after 11 minutes, the director of the paper factory assumed a business-like expression and sat down in his seat. And oh, a miracle took place. Where had the universal, uninhibited, indescribable enthusiasm gone? To a man, everyone else stopped, dead, and sat down. They had been saved. The squirrel had been smart enough to jump off of his revolving wheel. That, however, was how they discovered who the independent people were. And that is how they went about eliminating them. That same night, the factory director was arrested. They easily pasted 10 years on him on the pretext of something quite different. But after he had signed the Form 206, the final document of the interrogation, his interrogator reminded him, don't ever be the first to stop applauding. I find that powerful. I find that prescient. Those of you that are new to the show, welcome. This is what we typically do here is we talk about business. We talk about things that are important to business owners. We give strategies. We talk about things that are really, really important. And I read that story because it is important. It is important throughout time and history, right? That we as business owners, we talk about this ideal. We talk about this ideal called freedom. Most of you who have heard me speak, you know and understand that why I am so passionate about business, why I'm so passionate about business owners and for business owners is because the idea that this thing called a business is and can set you free. It is and can set you free in your own life. And that freedom is to be described. It's so very, very personal to each one of us. And as I watched what happened with Charlie Kirk, we happened to be we spoke at this amazing event called DealCon in Austin, Texas. We were with 200 amazing business owners who were all fighting and for their own version of freedom. And I challenged them at the very beginning of the event, as I challenge you today, as I challenge everyone, as I challenge myself in the mirror, as I challenge those people that are closest to me. I challenge us to understand, why are we doing the things that we're doing? I ask that question all the time. Why are we doing it? And with a business, it's specifically a tool that's been given to us and granted to us that we take for granted, for the ability for us to change our stars, for us to be able to develop and architect our own purpose in life, to develop and purpose, to face down our own demons, our mommy issues, our daddy issues, for us to craft and hone and polish a personality, a value driven asset to society, to find and fall in love with the outcome of other people called our clients, to fall in love with the outcome of the people that are under our charge called our employees, the ability for us to fall in love with the outcome of our communities, the people that we can utilize our excess capital and be able to ease suffering in the world. that's the call on our lives. And I know that that's less, we happen to be less than 10% of society at large, or in the entire, or the entire world, not just the United States. We're 33 million people, small and mid-sized business owners, which is designated by 0 employees all the way to 499. Okay. And there are things that tie us together, and that make us the same, and call us to be servants of other people. The idea that we would be able to earn a living, and to be able to rise and raise ourselves out of our poverties. The last name that you have does not tie you or designate you to a life of poverty or being poor or not having a word. In this country, in this time, with this thing called business, you can raise up from, no matter what your background is, to be of service to the world at such a level that you can free yourself financially. It's an incredibly powerful thing for us to be able to do. It's an incredible gift that we've been given. And those of you that have known me, that have followed me for many, many years, I cannot tell you how much that means to me. I cannot tell you how valuable that has been for me. Um, and those of you that have followed me, you know that I do not shy away from controversy. And those of you that are new, that may be watching this for the very first time, this isn't new. For me to have a conversation like we're about to have, this isn't new for me. Because a long time ago, I've had mentors that have told me, Jason, when and if you are able to do things with your life, with this thing called business, you will then be honor bound to pay things forward, to be able to stand on and utilize your voice. The people that I admire have always, with no fear of retribution, with no fear of things being taken away from them, with no fear of the idea that, oh, my business could go under, I could be. And I understand the fear of speaking up and speaking out and standing. I understand it. And those of us that do reach a place of freedom, we are honor bound to stand and say the things that are necessary to provide cover for those businesses that cannot actually speak out, those people that own business that can't speak out because their business may be impacted. I'm not saying that everybody should do this, but I am saying those that have reached a position of influence and power, maybe you should sacrifice things but that's not my place. My place is to say I have to be and remain in alignment with God's call on my life. And those of you that have been around me, that have followed me, you understand what I mean by that. For years, I've stood, and for years, against the advice of my PR people and all the other stuff. Jason, just don't talk about those things. Just don't say those things. You're to help the business community. But look, at the end of the day, when you talk about child trafficking, who have we had to stand against? We've had to stand against the cartel. We've had to stand against gang members. We have to go into places with bulletproof vests on. We have to face down corrupt judges and corrupt cops and all kinds of different things. Much less the fear of something physically happening when we're going to get a child out of the hands of somebody who's selling them for sex. Jason, why would you do that? You have kids of your own. Yeah. But with what I saw and it's difficult. I'm so emotional about this stuff that happened with Charlie Kirk. Emily and I watched his wife last night, and I did okay throughout the presentation. I did okay, except for the parts where she said things that were the most important to me to leave as a legacy. And I think that most business owners want to leave as a legacy. which is to have my wife adore me and to have her respect me and have her know that I stand up in times when it's necessary, to have my children respect me, to have the people that are closest to me, my friends, know that I stand up for those that are weaker, that I would sacrifice comfort, that I would sacrifice reputation, that I would sacrifice those things to create or at least maintain or have my if even if it was for nothing more than to say in a moment when somebody needed me, I stood. And I've had to have those arguments over the last 10 to 12 years. Jason, what if you die and your kids are without you while you're out doing the stuff that you do? Are you a business owner running hard, burning out, and still not getting ahead? I'm Jason Sisneros, founder of Built to Exit. I've bought, built, fixed, exited over 24 companies of my own. I've helped hundreds of business owners do the same. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably didn't start your business to be trapped in it. And yet, here you are, overwhelmed, underpaid, drowning in noise from fake gurus and recycled advice. Been there. Built to Exit isn't just another course. It's not a magic bullet, it's a system, a proven blueprint built from real-world experience, not theory. We help owners control the 3 things that really matter in business: price, the timing, and the terms of your exit. Whether that means more cash in your pocket now, more freedom starting today, or a full-blown exit strategy that lets you walk away on your own terms, our team knows how to get you there. So if you're done guessing, done with the excuses, and ready to win, visit builttoexit.biz today to schedule your free 15-minute strategy call with a senior advisor. We'll show you exactly where the leaks are in your business and how to fix them, because everybody exits. How you exit is the only thing that really matters. Builttoexit.biz. We play to win. Do you? So be it, because I will have died doing the thing that I know God called on my life. And the stuff with domestic violence and standing up for that, and then being here in the business. Like those of you that know me know that we decided to go down this business path. We've stood up on a lot of areas, a lot of places. General Flynn, we traveled with him. We stood up against things that we thought were wrong. People being mandated to do different things. It's a common thing for us, for me specifically, to be able to stand up against these things. And the thing that created that for me is what I want to say, because a lot of people are making all of this about them. And that I don't do that. That's not what my point is here. It's about you, the person who's watching this, looking for some kind of guidance or leadership or a different perspective in this madness that happens to be going on around us, what seems like a constant basis, and to make sense of it. And where do we go? What do we say? And I want to just remind you that you know what you're supposed to do. There is a direct link beyond leaders, beyond influencers, beyond gurus, beyond the whoever you're watching on television. There's a direct link between you and your creator that tells you what you should be doing on a moment to moment basis. There's this thing called a Bible that gives us basic instructions before leaving earth, is the simplest way that I've heard it said. And I'm not here to get into the arguments, of Charlie Kirk's situation. Charlie Kirk is and his situation. I met him a few times. I didn't know the man on a personal basis. I admired what he did, what he stood for. As with everybody on the face of the planet, I don't agree with anybody, every word that they say. But to have to watch things that are going on social media and people celebrating, oh, it wasn't our side that killed him, it wasn't our side that killed, it was blah blah blah, and all of these ridiculous conversations that are being had because a man stood and or sat in an environment and was espousing what he believed and allowing other people peaceably to say what they believed and to have a debate, which in any civilized society is what happens until you're not allowed. until you're not allowed to say the things that you have on your heart for fear of reprisal. I don't care whatever you think about Charlie Kirk and whatever you think about what he stood for doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is how you feel about the idea, that ridiculous passage that I read at the beginning of this presentation, that ridiculous passage that you were forced to stand up and clap. You were forced to stand up and clap 3, 5, 10, 11 minutes. And the first person who decided not to clap and sat down, ironically in the story, was a business owner, because we are leaders, sat down and immediately got 10 years. Immediately got 10 years. Charlie Kirk was shot because of what he said. Not because of what he did, not because he was holding people at gunpoint, not because he stabbed a helpless, unaware woman in the neck on a train. Not because he was physically, but because of his ideas, because of his beliefs, because he thought, I will stand up, I will make my argument, and those people can fine tune it with debate. I have argument. My wife will tell you, I enjoy conflict. I enjoy conflict because I believe it polishes my opinions. I believe it polishes my intellect. I believe that it polishes my ability to serve at a higher level, because if I have a bad assumption and I'm acting on it, as I always will, passionately, and it is incorrect, it needs to be refined by people arguing with me. And when people argue with me, do I shoot them? Do I beat them up? Or do I listen and I take the thing that refines my outcome, refines my opinion, and changes my mind to become a better servant leader? And I believe that there's a line in demarcation that separates people in this world. The people that are selfish and the people that have learned to be and enjoy and truly be joy-filled human beings is to become selfless, to refine your ability to be able to serve at a higher level in a genuine fashion with no expectation for anything in return, because you have a connection to your creator. It's because you have a connection to the one where you're going to walk across at the end of this life. Everybody exits. How matters. When you exit, there's going to be a conversation between you and your creator, and it's going to be, how'd you do? How'd you do? And that's where I am crafting my life now, based on that one conversation. I'm not basing it on how much money I have. I'm not basing it on how many followers I have. I'm not basing it on how much people like me. I'm not basing it on whether somebody doesn't want me to go rescue children. I'm not basing it on whether people want me to be involved politically or not. I'm going to do the thing that I have between me and my creator asking me to do. And is it always comfortable? And do I always want to do it? No. Do I always do it? No. But I'm doing my damnedest to remain consistent with that relationship. And there's constant guidance for me. Is it right? But we'll find out. I will. We won't. I will. When I hit those pearly gates. But while I'm here, I don't know why. I don't know why I have to stick my nose in these things. I don't know why I have to stand up. I don't know why God called me to do the things that I do. I don't know why. I stopped asking. I stopped caring why. I make decisions. Everybody asks me all the time, Jason, are you afraid about when you do the stuff that you do? I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of one thing, and that's being out of the will of God. because that's the only time I've ever been alone. That's the only time when I've ever experienced fear. And how people react and how we react as a society to this Charlie Kirk issue. It says more about the people as they react and as they comment and the things that they say. It says more about them than it will ever say about Charlie Kirk. I admire Charlie Kirk. I didn't know him well. I didn't follow him really closely. I don't, but the things that he did, he stood and he said, and he wasn't physically violent. He put himself in an environment where his opinion could be attacked and sharpened. He put himself in an environment because of how he believed to be able to say the things that he believed, to have them challenged in the public marketplace. And he's killed for it? If your argument even devolves into who killed him, again, not my place to judge, but if you're having who killed him, what side were they on, what was their beliefs, it doesn't matter. There is only one reason. That passage that I read at the very beginning out of this book about the first person to sit down and stop clapping got 10 years of prison. That's why Charlie Kirk got shot, is to silence you. It's to put you on warning, to say there is this person who is out there that is saying things that they believe that is antithetical to control and power and freedom and control of the masses, and it's antithetical to all of that. They must die. That's not a world that I want to live in. That's not a world that our ancestors fought to get us to a place where we would even contemplate socialist, communist behaviors. That we would we're so far removed from this book, which is a forensic breakdown of what happens and what will happen and what has happened in Mao's China, in Stalin's Russia, in Hitler's Germany, over and over and over again. We're so far away from it that we have forgotten, and we think that we are somehow immune to that. What does this have to do with business, Jason? Everything. Everything. You, as a small, mid-sized business owner, represent the best of our society. You represent the gift that has been given to us, the fact that you can stand on your own 2 feet and craft a life of your own based on you overcoming all of your own weaknesses and finding the strengths of ethical capitalism and falling in love with somebody else's outcome to a point where you serve them enough that they want to gift you with money, and that you want to do that, and that they want to tell other people, and that you get better and better and better. And the way that you expand on that is by bringing people in, giving them a job and giving them the ability to support their family, and building a relationship with them and falling in love with your employees' outcomes to a point where they are living a better life, and you're serving your community with that excess, and you're putting that into the things that you do. You represent the best of this world, because you have to, no matter what you may believe, you have to, in the world of ethical capitalism, meet the needs of somebody else and maintain a relationship and an honesty and a character that keeps people doing business with you. But Jason, don't talk about these things. Don't talk about these things. These are, this is a, you're going to lose followers. You're going to lose business. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Because anybody that would be okay with what happened to Charlie Kirk, I don't want to have anything to do with them. Nothing. I'll pray for them. I will wish them good luck, but I don't want to be around them. If freedom doesn't require sacrifice, then is freedom worth having? I don't think so. Every business owner that I know, whether they've been able to articulate it or they've not been able to articulate it, every business owner that I know has a business for the outcome of some version of freedom for themselves and for their families. Every one of them. To a point that that's become a central message for me, because I didn't realize how many of us don't realize that the thing that we're doing is we want freedom. And whether you like it or not, you have to purchase that freedom. It has an expense. It has a price to it. And if you've chosen business to be the thing that's going to pay that price, then be the best at it. Get there the fastest. And then what are you going to do with that freedom? Most of business owners that I know are sacrificial people. They're doing this. They want that excess so that they can help veterans or that they can rescue whatever the thing is that they want to do more of. And a worthy cause to free them and their family, to avail choices to the people that are around there, all the way to their employees, to do a great service for their customers. You are the best of what the world has to offer. I've seen it over and over and over again. That's why I decided in my decision after I freed myself and I thought I was going to go do other things, to come back into the business community, to work with some of the best human beings that I possibly could, to free you, to help you get free, so that we could all band together and be able to have voices in our government, to have voices in our local communities, to have voices of what's going on with the tax money, for us to have a voice and an influence together. So yeah, I'm in business. Yeah. I look at the world through this lens. Yes, I'm here. And no, I don't care if anybody watches this video, sends it out and goes, "Oh, Jason's a right wing and blah blah blah." Those of you that know me know I'm no right wing person, right? I heard the term plumb line Democrat and plumb line Republican, and what that means is that we're so close together that a plumb line, you can barely tell us apart. Because Democrats and Republicans, it's this thin line between us. Now, both sides has their radical right and the radical left, right? Both sides have that. But it's those of us in the middle that are too busy working and actually doing shit with our lives that we don't talk enough. That we don't go, no, 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 no. Just because it's red, just because it's blue, doesn't mean that we should hate each other. By the fruits of our lives, right? By the fruits of what happens in our lives, you should be judged by the fruits. Do you have joy in your life? Do you have friends? Are you producing? Are you serving? Are you angry? Are you trying to find an excuse? Are you denigrating a dead person and saying good, you're glad that he got shot? That's disgusting. That's disgusting. On either side of the aisle, by the way. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat or a conservative or a Christian or a Muslim or a blah blah blah. There is no place in a loving, sacrificial, certainly Christian heart for that kind of behavior.
Hi, my name is Jason Sisneros, founder and chairman of Built to Exit, a world-class business consulting firm that's helped hundreds of clients and thousands of business owners fix, scale, and successfully master their companies. Let me ask you a question. Are you serious about changing the direction of your business, but you don't have the funds to bring in a high-level consulting team? Well, then keep watching. We created the Built to Exit system specifically for entrepreneurs like you. Whether you're a startup trying to avoid costly mistakes or a seasoned owner stuck in a plateau or a downturn, this do-it-yourself system is your answer. Now, this course isn't easy. It's not a gimmick. It's not sugar-coated motivational feel-good fest if you know me at all. It's a graduate level masterclass built from decades of business ownership, consulting, and real-world results. If you're willing to do the work and follow the blueprint we use with companies that pay us 5 and 6 figures, you will finally have a system that gives you time freedom, financial control, and a clear path to a successful exit. So if you're serious about building a business that works with or without you, go to www.b2xsystem.com right now, because everybody exits. The only question is how.
And really, we're honor bound, right? We as leaders that want to be leaders, that want to stand out, we have to ask ourselves, what do we stand for? Where is the line that we come up against? You know, those of you know that my line is always right in front of me, and that is I'm very, very anti-bully. That is my line. If somebody's getting bullied, I'm gonna be there, right? I'm gonna stand in that place of because I was bullied. Yes, daddy issues. My daddy beat the shit out of me all the time for all of my childhood and went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mother. So yes, I'm anti-bully. Oh, it's just because of your trauma, Jason? Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank God that God gave me the trauma that he gave me to build the strength that I now have to stand for those that need me to stand. Thank God that God gave me the opportunity to beat back my worst impulses through this gift called business to make me a better man because I wasn't. And I continually strive to be because it's what it takes to be able to earn the trust, to be able to lead, to be able to have a voice, to be able to have an influence, to be able to have a last name that my children can look at and say, you know what? Sisneros means something. Thank God I had the dad that I had. Thank God that he didn't succeed in killing me. Thank God that you have had the challenges that you particularly in your life have had because you're alive. You're on the other side of that, or you might be going through it, or whatever position you find yourself, you're strong enough and have been strong enough to be able to withstand that. Lots of people not. Today calls for, today, this moment calls for your best to come forward. It does cause and call for the culling of relationships. It does call for us to take a stand. I have taken stand after stand. I'm going to take a stand after stand after stand, regardless of the advice that I get to make sure that we only speak about business. I believe that business is the answer. Business people, business, the business community. As a business owner, even if you own you're the only person in your business and you're scraping out 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 dollars a year extra for you and your family. There's something that binds us together. There's something that is magical about who you are. Let me just go through some of my notes because I wanted to make sure that I hit this, and then we'll wrap it up. Because I want to make sure that we hit some of these things. I want to open it up for dialogue. I want to open it up for conversation. Like I said, I just got back from Austin. As this stuff was happening, Monday, it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then Wednesday, as we were flying in for an amazing wedding and a celebration of somebody that we adore, somebody that I've seen come from the streets and literally is the manifestation of, and it's January Riggin. She started a organization called Soap to Hope. And those of you that know, she's my wife and I's chief of staff. And we went to her wedding. She was baptized at our wedding. Her husband was baptized at our wedding. And we're going and we're flying in and we're landing. And her wedding was 5 minutes away from where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Her wedding was 3 hours after the assassination. And to be so close and to be so, so into, and to watch the joy that can happen in moments of absolute anguish and uncertainty, and to know January's story and where she came from when I very first met her to where she is today, and the people that she impacts because of her business, because of her business acumen, because of the ability to start a charity and to fall in love with other people's outcomes. The night before, she does this outreach where she goes out, she makes sure that people have clean needles, to make sure that they have soap, to make sure that they're mostly for street people to be seen. She goes out and sees them, and that's every Tuesday night that she does this. And she did it the night before her wedding. What were you doing the night before your wedding? These are the people that I love being around. Owning a business is the ultimate expression of freedom. It's more than money, it's more than status, it's a declaration. I will build my life on my terms without waiting for permission. But it's not a free pass, it's not a guarantee. Freedom demands discipline to steward it. It demands sacrifice to keep it, and if we're not willing to live those principles, then we don't deserve it. Freedom, when exercised in business, is how ordinary people create opportunity for others. A business owner provides jobs, they put food on the table for families, they make sure the lights stay on in their community, and they fund the very institutions that defend freedom. From the American Revolution to the abolitionist movement and any war throughout history, and it's usually good against evil. The winner always writes the history books, as we know. But every war has been won and lost at the bank, and that bank is financed by the merchants of the time, by the business owners of the time. And so if you want to have influence, do better with your business. Find other business owners that are like-minded. And the Bible is clear. Wealth and resources are never the ends in themselves. They're the tools. Quite often we hear it's money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. It's the love of money. They're truly, when you understand it, they're tools to serve, to protect, and to multiply good in the world. In Matthew 25, the parable of the talents teaches us that God entrusts us with opportunities, skills, and wealth, not to bury them, not to hoard them, but to multiply them in service. True capitalism, ethical capitalism that we talk about on this show, is rooted in honesty, stewardship, generosity, and justice. It decentralizes power by putting resources in the hands of millions of builders instead of a handful of rulers. This is how we fight evil without bloodshed. This is how we protect the innocent, and this is how we resist control. Our founders knew this, and that's why the Constitution guarantees the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to assemble. But those freedoms are not self-executing. They live only as long as we guard them. The Constitution is a scaffolding. It creates the framework, but without men and women willing to speak, invest, and sacrifice, it's just ink on a paper. Freedom is fragile, and Charlie Kirk's assassination is the proof. Charlie Kirk stood on a campus stage to speak, to debate, to express ideas, and he was killed for it. That's not just an attack on him. It's a warning to everyone. If a public figure can be assassinated for speaking, then every citizen is vulnerable. And here's the choice that it presents. Do we shrink back in fear, silencing ourselves, letting intimidation win, or do we step forward, speak louder, and act bolder? Do we commit to using our freedom, our businesses, our influence, our wealth to resist evil and to safeguard liberty? Because make no mistake, freedom is pointless if you're afraid to use it. I wrote these words, and why I'm reading them word for word is because I wrote these words as I was on a plane, as I was thinking through these deeply. And at 4 o'clock this morning, before I got ready, as I started to finish up the prep for the show. And the one overwhelming thought that I had was freedom is pointless if you're afraid to use it. It's a selfish endeavor that it's not deserved to keep it. I don't deserve to keep it if I don't utilize it in defense of the defenseless, in the defense of ideals that I believe have created the most opportunity for the most people in the history of mankind. There's 3 pillars to those freedoms as I believe. Opportunity. Business ownership is one of the greatest engines of opportunity in history. It allows the individual to create, grow, and give. Discipline. Freedom without discipline decays into chaos. We must become worthy of the freedom that we claim. Sacrifice. Freedom demands we sacrifice for others, whether that's time, wealth, or even reputation. It's the price every generation must pay. Charlie Kirk's assassination is not just a tragedy, it's a test. The test is this: will you hide or will you stand? Will you use your freedom or will you wield it as a creator? Will you build businesses, movements, communities that keep freedom alive? Freedom dies when the faithful grow silent. It dies when business owners refuse to use their influence. It dies when fear dictates our words. But freedom lives, thrives when men and women refuse to bow. When they take their God-given talents, multiply them, when they use ethical capitalism to decentralize power, protect the innocent, give voice to truth, everybody exits how matters. And in the times like these, it matters more than ever. So that's it, y'all. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys. I wanted to let you know where I stand, as always. Again, those of you that are new, this kind of comes with the territory. You know, we have some great episodes, we have some great things that we talk about, but at the end of the day, the only reason I do this at this point in my life is so that I can have this kind of conversation in moments like these. And it's always after I have these kind of conversations, after I put out this kind of an episode, where I get the inevitable, oh, I'm not following him anymore. I'm not blah, 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 blah. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, I love you, but good riddance, you know? And the best thing that I've ever heard said was, this is not a theater. You don't have to announce your exit. Just go. You know, I wish you the best. But to those of us that are called, and I know so many of you, and I know the callings on your life, and I know what you're doing about it, and I'm watching you with awe many times overcome those weaknesses, overcome those things. And to bring it back to a man's life, Charlie Kirk, again, didn't know him, met him a few times backstages and those kind of things. Didn't know him, but I can tell you everything that I need to know. Came down to a few things. How did the country, because there's been millions, I mean, you have states and governments and all around the world that put their flags at half mast, that had moments of silence, that respected this man and what he stood for at such a high level that it impacted billions of people. People that didn't know him are now drawn to his message. There's disgusting people out there that are, because again, all you have to do is just listen to the message yourself. But the impact that this man had is incredible. It's so powerful. And all he did was stand and speak. He didn't threaten anybody at gunpoint. He didn't threaten anybody's finances. He didn't use fear or intimidation. He stood with a microphone. He spoke words. He had conversations. He challenged ideas. He modified his own ideas. He stood firm on his faith. He was interviewed and he said, what do you want to be remembered for? And he said, I want to be remembered for the courage of my faith. To have a death doing the thing that you were called by God to do, to be killed doing that very thing. Wow. What a powerful way to go. Because most people don't. They die quiet deaths of desperation. That old saying. They don't do it being bold. They don't do it being, standing out. And again, the people, and this is the ironic thing that I find about the Charlie Kirk situation, is that those people that are out there that hate him, not knowing him, not even really researching his life, but because their little group of people said that you should hate this guy and believing lies and not doing research and all this other kind of stuff, he died for their right to say that shit. Think about that for a minute. He died for them. It just reminds me again, like I said, I didn't know him that well. I didn't follow him that closely. He really did appeal to the younger generation but I notice people who stand on principle, and I notice people and that's amazing to me. And the other thing that I realized that as I was watching it, what happened with the country? Did we start burning cities down because of an unjust, if there was sides, right? Our side, blah, 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 blah. Did we burn down cities? Nope. Did we start shooting people? You know, The guy, the kid that shot him was a socialist. Are we hunting socialists? Right? Nope. What I saw was a resolve. I got angry. Let me tell. I mean, let me address this because I got angry. I was um, I was upset, and I felt some things very deeply about wanting to hurt other people, and thought in my mind, oh my gosh, like when are we ever going to stand up? That hit my brain. I'm like, when are we ever going to stand up and make them feel how we feel? Make them afraid like they're attempting to make us afraid. Thank God for God. Thank God for my wife. Thank God for Pastor Rudy in my life. Thank God for people of reason to talk me back off of ledges that I constantly and consistently find myself on. There's strength in the way that our nation and hundreds of millions of people reacted. There is strength in continuing to stand and continuing to speak and continuing to do the things that we know are correct in the face of obvious evil, in the face of obvious uh, um, uh, power and control and manipulation and propaganda, for you to stand and to do what's right and not what feels right in the moment. I am proud of how everybody reacted. Yeah, there's arguments online and people saying things that they shouldn't, but you have a young lady stabbed in the neck that the news the news never said anything about her getting stabbed on that subway. There's school shootings that are happening. There's this Charlie Kirk situation. Our world is dark sometimes, and light always wins. Light always wins. Charlie Kirk shot in front of his daughter, who yelled out and was running for him because of the loud noise, who has no concept at 3 years old. What just happened to daddy? Where is he? No explanation. And a wife in absolute heartbrokenness being required and called forward to stand in the stead when she should be able to mourn and suffer, and but is being called in leadership because of the mantle that her husband brought forward in TPUSA. She had to stand, and she did it with grace, and she did it with no malice in her heart. You could see flashes of anger. You could see flashes of I just anger. Like we could see it if you watch her event. But she's heartbroken. She lost a husband, her best friend, her partner in life. And I lost it 2 times. I cried two times, and both of them was when she recognized the relationship that she had to him. Because that's the closest thing that I have. What does my wife think of me? Am I protecting her? Am I guarding her? Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good father? Am I being a good leader? Fortunately or unfortunately, the answer to that question has nothing to do with Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the relationship with myself. It has to do with how am I behaving? What am I doing? Everybody's got an answer for what should have happened and what should be. If you think you have an answer, then go do something about it. That's what I can say about leaders, about business. Like if there's something that comes up and you go, you know what, this whole situation with Charlie Kirk would have been better if, go do that thing. Go do that thing. Don't leave it on somebody else. I got a good friend of mine that has an organization called We Are the They. I'm going to do my level best to do everything that I possibly can to ease suffering in the world with the tools and the calling that God has on my life. I'm one person. I know my wife follows that same path. I know many, many, many of my friends follow that path. I know many of the business owners that we're gathering little bit by little bit. Our business community is coming together because of we realize the collective voice and the collective power that we have if we bond together. Things continue to get better. I believe in that. I have optimism. I believe that things are going to get better. I believe that whatever tried to silence, whatever they were trying to do to silence Charlie Kirk, it backfired in a gargantuan way because his name is on the lips of billions of people today. Hundreds of millions of people are going in and listening to his words, the arguments that he made that maybe would not have had he not passed away. So that threat of intimidation backfired wildly because I'm here saying the words that I'm saying, because I watch other people that are stepping up and saying the things that they did, because you're watching this, because you have formulated, because the only thing that I don't want you to do, I don't want you to repeat my words. I don't want you to think and believe as I believe. What I want you to do is think, believe, research, and challenge your own thing in service of other people so that you can stand on your own box because God has called you to do your specific thing with your specific life that will make my life better if you do it. You may believe completely opposite of the things that I believe. But if God drives you to do something and to believe a certain way and for you to stand up for a certain block of people, then you should be doing that, whether I agree with you or whether I don't. And if I don't and you stand on it and you make your argument, I respect you. May not agree with you, may not like you. You may not like me, but I'm not going to shoot you. And I sure as hell hope you're not going to shoot me because we have a difference of opinion and the difference of the way that we look at this world. I'm so grateful for the platform that I have. I'm so grateful for the blessings that God has given me in my life. I'm so grateful for my wife. I love her so deeply and so passionately, and I'm so blessed to have her as my partner. I love my kids. I love my grandbabies. I love my friends. I love my business partners. I love so I am so blessed to be able to love so deeply and so passionately because of the pain. I believe that you are given inversely the ability to love. The deepness of your love is in direct proportion to the level that you may have suffered in this life. And I'm grateful that we get to hang out with each other. I'm grateful that we get to have these difficult discussions. I'm grateful for business owners and the conversations that I had at an event this week, and I'm going to be having next week, and I'm going to be having the week after that, with people that don't believe as I do, but we're playing the same game. So grateful for it. I love y'all. These words week to week to week are my love letter. They're my love letter, you know, and I hope that you receive them that way, and I hope you take the things that I'm teaching and you do great things with them. And if you hate me, just tell me you hate me. Don't shoot me. But if you do, you know, so be it. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family, his wife, his children, the people that he impacts, his organization, the men and women that stand behind him, the men and women that are going to carry on his legacy. God bless you. I, for one, am grateful for the life you lived, for the example that you gave. And to his wife, you were heard last night at a level that I don't know that was impactful. What you did was impactful. So go forward, do what you do. Remember, our tagline is everybody exits, right? There's no better example than that than from this week. Everybody exits. How matters. Those last two words, how matters, is something that you get to architect with your very DNA, your decisions, your words, how you love, who you love, the work you put in. Not realizing that this life is not about you, it's about serving other people, and that's where joy lies. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'll be back with some other kind of message next Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're live. Those of you that are watching this on replay, thank you for being with me, and for being with us. I hope you stick with us. There's some really great things that are happening. But just for this week, I love you. You matter. The the things that you do matter, and how you behave and how you treat other people and how you allow other people to treat you, it matters. I'm Jason Cisneros. God bless you, and I will see you next week. Peace.